Hello, this is Victor and this is a new video response for the weekly topic of this week, that is our journey in the hobby. It's a topic initiated by Vince Venturella and specifically talks about focusing on our painting, on our hobby. I know that the hobby is more than that, but yeah, I just want to explain a little bit of my background and my evolution on the painting work. And let's see if I can put some examples. And yeah, and just hope this is also motivating to other people to keep painting and to keep going on. So I start in the hobby around the 90s, late 90s, with second edition Warhammer 40k, and I think at that period was maybe third or fourth edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle, was when in 40k there was still two boxes, one with the Warhammer, another one called Dark Millennium. The Warhammer 40k was the basic kit, and then the Dark Millennium was some equipment and the Psychic Powers expansion. And in Fantasy the period was also two boxes, one with the basic kit and another one that was the Magic, a box only for Magic. And in this period the painting, the options on paints were quite limited. I was painting with Games Workshop paints. They were looking something like that, the pots. When I started, these hexagonal pots, I still keep some of them, very old, 20 years old pots, so imagine, and they don't get dry. So these were very good pots, and the content was bigger than today, as you can see here. I don't know if I can see, yeah, this is about 12.5 mLs. So this is where I started. There were existing some washes as well. I will show you the washes that I have. One. They were called inks, and I don't think I have. Yeah, I have this. I have one of the. They were called yellow wash. Okay, it was the yellow wash. So I keep some of them. I don't use them anymore because they are useless for me. Had also the green one. So you see, I had some of them. This was the whole range. They were the paints, the washes and glazes, and I never know what the glazes were for when I started. So when I started, I bought one of the basic kits, just basic colors and one wash. I think was the flesh wash. And the problem of the washes at that period is they were giving a very bright finishing, and I will show you an example of what I mean by that. If you see this armor, I don't know if you can see here. The armor is quite glossy, and this glossiness is coming only just because I applied a wash on top of this marine. So that was all. At this period, I start with very basic techniques, painting basic colors, and using some dry brush. I didn't even know how to well highlight, and then I started using some washes. But you see, the first works were not the most amazing one. This was the Slaanesh Great Demon, and as you can see also on the bases, this was the standard also for Games Workshop. So Goblin green and this green thing that is like a powder more than electrostatic. This was how we did all the bases in that period. This is the painting job. You see flat colors, not a lot of highlights. Experimenting a little bit with freehand, but yeah, you see, even the colors were quite weird. This was following exactly the standard from Games Workshop on painting work. So you see the wood was painted in red. So, and this is one of the Beastmans of this period. So I start doing very basic colors, just focusing on have the right color in the right spot, and start using some very basic techniques like dry brush and some washes. But the washes I was very unhappy with them because we're leaving a very bright finishing, some glossing things that I wouldn't like. And yeah, in this period the style was with very bright colors, as you can see here. They were, I don't know if I maybe move the camera a little bit to here, and you can see here better what I mean. This was the style of this period. Okay, so let's look. This was the standard of Games Workshop. This was following, of course, Games Workshop was painting better than me at that moment. but this was the colors for the orcs. See, clank off, red pistols, red axe, some blue ball of the same period. These are all from the same period. You see bright colors and not a lot of washes. So this was when I started, and I paint a lot with that. This was my, sorry, let me see if I can put the camera correct again. This was how I started in the hobby. Later on, yeah, I've been with that. I started working, I was improving more and more with the washes, start using matte varnish to make down the washes, but you have to think that the washes at the period were done very good. The washes from Games Workshop were quite bad, to be fair. And then, yeah, to avoid to do washes, I started doing a lot of layering. So my purpose was the way of working at the period. Imagine that you don't have Agax air shade, you don't have Moon oil, you don't have any of these washes available. So you only have basic paints. Even they were not the foundation paints, so they were not paints specialized on painting on top of black colors, dark colors. So when I wanted to do these yellows, you had to do several layers of white and then do the yellow on top. So it was quite hard to paint at this period, but it was enjoyable as well. So when you try to do a nice shading and do a nice work, the only way to do it in that moment was by layering. And this means that you start with a very dark color and you start building up from the bottom to the top with different layers of paint, being very thin and trying to build up from the bottom. And this is when I paint. I will show you a miniature I paint following this technique. Sorry, I go off camera. I will just take the body of this miniature. So this was one of the jobs that I did by layering. So let's see if I can focus here. So this is just no washes on the flesh, and yeah, here I still have washes, but by layering means I start with blue and I start building up the color up to the white. So this was the technique, mainly technique used in that period of time, before the washes and the foundation paints appear. Then there was a magic moment for me when the first foundation paints appear and the first washes, the first shades from Games Workshop appear. Was the previous parts of that. And I think this was really a big change for me. So they were using at the beginning, let me see if I have, I don't think I have any of the pots from that period. No, these are the old pots. I think here maybe, yeah, this is one. Well, I don't have them. But what I mean is, they launch this range of new shades, and yeah, I was amazed because it was really matte color and was making your life much easier, especially on reds, greens, blues. So this was one of the big changes and one of the biggest improvements I ever seen on the paint work. When Games Workshop started putting good shades on the table, the previous to Null Oil was very good. Also the one that after that is substituted by Agax Air Shade. So great shades. And this was one of the big improvements and what managed me to improve a lot. Later on, then always looking in internet, trying to simulate what other people do, trying to improve and trying to challenge yourself is what makes you improving over time. And I'm talking that, yeah, I've been painting since the late 90s, so I'm talking about I'm painting more than 20, I've been more than 20 years. In late 90s, I think I started painting early 90s, so I've been more than 20 years painting on miniatures. So, and I keep challenging myself. And yeah, I think I was quite blocked for a while. I was not sharing my work with anybody apart from my friends. And there was a moment I say, okay, my friends stopped playing Warhammer, so I need to. Yeah, there was a moment that I say, okay, let's see if I can maybe connect with other people and share more knowledge. And I started doing a blog and start connecting on forums and to show what I was able to do. And this period was very good for me because I started receiving a lot of feedback, how to improve, how to do better job, and thanks to that, I start challenging myself even harder. And thanks to that, I move out of these bases. Because the first thing they told me is, why you use these awful bases? And it's when I have started rebasing, or even that this was based, the base of this guy was the same, but just by painting it, instead of leaving in the raw color, you can see the difference. Just by doing that, I think they improve a lot. So this was one of the improvements that, yeah, I think, okay, maybe I have to invest more on my bases, because I was so focused on painting the miniatures that I never thought that I have to invest time on the bases. And yeah, really the base can make a miniature pop up or not. So, sorry if I'm rambling too much, but I think was when I started connecting with the people on the internet, and I started with a blog, and I've been blogging in that blog for a while now, for a long time. And then I moved to Belgium after that. And once I moved to Belgium, yeah, I have to start almost from zero to create new connections and to start meeting new people. So I started looking for blogs, for forums in Belgium. And then I decided to create my channel and to share with other people, and to, the YouTube was easier for me. I'm quite lazy. I didn't like a lot to write down, and I think for explaining tutorials and for explaining what I'm doing and to show what I'm doing, I was considering that YouTube and making a video was much easier. And this is why I started the channel 2 years ago. And thanks to that, I keep pushing myself. So, and I started trying to learn new techniques. The last techniques I started looking for is how to use the powder's efficiency, how to do the weathering. I'm coming from I always keep to my style of the 90s. It's very clean paint job with bright colors. And if you see my armies, most of them are quite solid colors. I don't go for the, yeah, I have a lot of influence, and because I start my armies, then I want to keep some coherency. So I'm not changing. So I'm not doing weathering, I'm not doing paint chipping on my vehicles, because my first vehicles have not that. For example, I always think why we weather the vehicles and why we don't weather the armor of the Space Marines. So just to keep consistency, I didn't start doing this a lot. And just recently I started using the powders more to give this look that that a little bit more break from the bright colors and then clean paint job, and trying to give more personality to the miniature. I start doing this especially on the Space Marines, because it's one of the armies that I start later. And yeah, I started using the powders because I saw that in Forge World, say, okay, this looks interesting. And then I start looking more and more on the internet on how to use them and how to make them make efficient use of them. So yeah, a long history and a lot of things there, and for me the main taking is try to challenge yourself a little bit in each miniature that you're painting. Try to see if you can learn new techniques, and don't be scared to test new things. One of the things I'm painting to test, and I don't, and maybe I will try it with the Stormcast Eternals, is if I can do non-metallic metal, because it's a new thing for me. So it's always good to challenge yourself and to see where you can improve and how you can go for better techniques. I don't think I will start doing non-metallic metal in our armies, and I'm not sure yet on that, because I like more the real metallic than the non-metallic metal. But this is a personal taste. So yeah, so my message is, don't get scared for the people that have that is painting very well, and just try to challenge yourself and try to improve yourself. And when I look to the past and I see what I was doing in the beginning, and I was happy when I was doing these things, I was quite happy when I was doing also the orcs. There were a lot of people asking me to make trainings and I to make tutorials and to explain how I do that, and say, oh, the people was just this was a very painting job to compare what I'm doing today. So always try to keep challenging yourself and try to keep doing better and try to do new techniques and how to improve, and ask for feedback. I think the feedback is a great way, because sometimes we are so focused on what we do, then we don't see until other people tell you, look, why you're doing that, or how you can improve here, or how can you do better. And this is why I start sharing, because I think it's good that other people can see my techniques, and if they I want to help other people starting to improve on the painting work, and at the same time I want to receive feedback on how to improve. Yeah, and I think this is my journey. So a long journey. I try to summarize the main points in this what it's called hobby journey. And yeah, and if you have any question or you want me to cover, I'm pretty open to any question from you, and if you want to know any other thing. So yeah, and please check on the Vince Venturella. He's putting a interesting topic every week. I'm not answering them all because sometimes I'm busy doing other things. But yeah, check the Vince Venturella. He initiated this topic to challenge or to ask us to explain our journey in this hobby. So that's all for this video. I hope you find it interesting, and a little bit of the past paint work that I did. And yeah, I hope to see you again later in this channel. Bye!